Welcome back, guys. Today I'll be showing you how to make this cool piece of wall art, or you could even up your game and make it more of a functional piece and turn it into a 3-hook coat rack and shelf like I did. All you're going to need for this project is two 1x6s 8 feet long. Real simple. I'll be using full dimensional lumber. Some call it timber, I guess. If you can't find this type of wood, regular 1x6s from your local lumber store will work just fine. I like the full dimensional lumber best for a couple reasons. One, it's 7/8 of an inch thick compared to regular 1x6s, which are only 3/4 of an inch. And it comes rough on one side, smooth on the other. And for these rustic pieces, the rough cut works perfect to give that country farmhouse feel. The first thing I did was found a silhouette online that would be the backdrop for this piece. The choices are really limitless on the possibilities. Just choose something that interests you or fits with your style. Here's a few examples of what I was playing with. And once you find a silhouette that does work for you, you'll have to resize it correctly. I use a free program called Inkscape. You will have to download it, but there is a free version that works just fine. All you do is input your overall dimensions, the width and height of your project, then add your silhouette and adjust it to what looks good. Super simple. With this program, what you'll be able to do is print the silhouette on multiple pieces of paper based off the size of your project. Then you can tape it all together, cut it out, and transfer it straight to your wood. My project is 24 inches wide by 26 inches high, so I'll need 4 pieces at 24 inches. I'll be gluing and clamping these 4 together to make up the front face, and whenever gluing pieces together like this, it's always best to have as true a straight edge as possible. So to accomplish this, I'm just going to rip off a 1/16 of an inch off 2 sides of each of the boards using my table saw. Once you have a straight edge on all your pieces, go ahead and do your glue up. The only tip here is if you're using rough timber like I am, you'll want to try to eliminate as much of the squeeze out on the rough side of the wood as possible. If you're using regular 1x6s, this won't be an issue because you can scrape and sand once the glue is dry. If you have any character marks in your wood, like these knots I have in mine, now is a good time to make sure the ones you want to keep will remain in the piece when it's all finished.
Many unbearable hours later.
Okay, it's been about 12 hours since I glued this thing up. I can get rid of these clamps and set my silhouette image onto the piece. I'm using clear tape to hold it to the wood, and once I'm happy with the location, I'll go ahead and cut it out using my jigsaw. This process is a bit tedious depending on the design you choose. This particular one took me about 25 minutes to cut it out with a jigsaw. If you have access to a scroll saw or a bandsaw, it'll save you a bit of time, and if you don't, just take your time and make sure you have a decent blade in your saw. The jigsaw blade created a tiny bit of roughness on the edges, which is easily taken care of with a piece of 120 grit sandpaper. Now onto the back panel of this piece. I'm using a 3/4 inch good one side piece of plywood I had laying around in my scrap pile. We'll be painting this black, so it is best to use as smooth a piece as you can find. I'll be wrapping the edges of this piece with more of the same material, so the thickness of the back panel is really not as important as the front painted surface. Now I'm using a flat black paint, which should help it look more like a silhouette when the whole image is done. Now I did end up using 3 coats of black paint over this piece of plywood, overlapping and reversing the direction of spray on each coat. I wanted to keep the rough wood as natural as possible to better help with the black silhouette standout. I went with a Minwax product called Natural Butter for this. And to get into all the cut edges, I found myself raiding my wife's craft supplies just to find a small enough brush to get the job done. And then the rest of the finish over the rough, flat surface is just done by dipping a rag and wiping it on. And here you can start to see it coming together, but we are still a ways away from a finished product. Next up was to glue and clamp the 3/4 inch plywood to the back side. Again, I have to stress, be careful on your glue placement. What we don't want to see is glue squeeze out onto the black surface of your silhouette image. I think what I'm going to do is flip it over, put some screws in the back side. So I didn't end up putting screws in, but I did add 1.25 inch pin nails to the back side just to help that glue set. Now while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'll start working on the outer frame. All I did was rip down the remaining pieces of timber to 2-inch strips, and I'm just cutting them on the miter saw to fit around the piece like a picture frame. Cutting a 45-degree angle will look best. However, you could simply butt joint these together if you don't have access to a miter saw. If your project plan is a piece of wall art, then all you'll need to do at this point is cut 4 outer frame pieces and you can call it a day. I wanted to add a little extra by adding a shelf and coat rack hooks to mine, so I'm only going to require 2 side pieces and 1 top frame piece. A little glue with more 1.25 inch brad nails, and now it's starting to look like something I might want to hang in my shop. Adding the shelf and lower support pieces for the coats was fairly simple. The shelf I cut at 5 inches wide, then softened the 2 outside corners with a 45-degree angle, and the hook support piece was cut at 3.5 inches. Both these pieces I installed using glue and screws to help support the weight of some of the winter coats that may end up hanging there over the year. I pre-drilled and countersunk the holes in the back side of the shelf to stop the wood from splitting so close to the edge. To attach the hook plate, I've set a mark on my drill to 1 inch using some blue painter's tape. Drilling into the edge without a drill press can be a bit sketchy, so I'm marking the exact center of the edge of the board to better my chances of a straight hole. There are alignment jigs you can use for this, but I can't seem to locate mine at the moment. Well, that went as smooth as I could have hoped for. And now all that's left is to mark out the locations for the 3 hooks, pre-drill, and mount them. This is a great project to tackle over the weekend if you're wanting to try something different. And I just want to thank everybody for watching. If you enjoyed the video, show your support, drop a comment, let me know what you think. Also, like, share, you know the routine. Hope to see you all on the next one. Cheers.